Trust is not just a word. It is the unseen bridge between where we are and where we want to be. When we talk about India, we are not simply talking about a piece of land. We are talking about a civilization that has existed for thousands of years, a civilization that has been tested, broken, challenged, invaded, and yet it stood tall, stronger than ever. Why? Because at the heart of this nation lies an unshakable trust in its values, trust in its people, trust in its capacity to rise above challenges. When a nation trusts, it lays the foundation for growth that cannot be measured only in economic terms or material progress, but in the depth of its spirit and the resilience of its people. Trust is like oxygen, invisible yet vital, without which no relationship, no dream, no destiny can survive. India's story has always been a story of trust. When its people trusted that independence could be achieved, even when the world thought it was impossible, they turned that belief into reality. There were countless doubts, endless failures, unimaginable sacrifices, but one thing never broke: the trust that freedom was theirs to claim. Every movement, every slogan, every silent prayer was fueled by that conviction. When India trusted its farmers, its soil fed millions. When it trusted its scientists, it sent rockets to the moon and beyond. When it trusted its youth, they built empires of innovation across the globe. The deeper lesson here is that trust is not a gamble, it is an investment. It is the invisible capital that multiplies silently until it transforms into monumental achievements. But here's what most people overlook: trust must be placed in the right vision. Trusting blindly in fear, in doubts, in limitations, will chain you down as much as trusting in possibility will set you free. India's foundation of growth teaches us that progress happens not because someone said it was possible, but because enough people trusted in an idea that seemed impossible. Think about the moments when everyone around you says, "It cannot be done." That's exactly the moment trust is tested. If you look at the lives of great leaders, entrepreneurs, thinkers, they were not people who had all the answers. They were people who had all the trust. Trust in their mission, trust in their capacity, trust that even if they fell 10 times, they could rise the 11th. For a person, just like a nation, the biggest leap is always internal. We often wait for external proof, for guarantees, for signs that the world believes in us before we commit. But the truth is, the world starts to believe only after you do. Trust is contagious. When India trusted its dreams of self-reliance, others who doubted slowly came to admire and follow. When you trust your own vision, the people around you, even those who resist at first, are eventually influenced by that energy. Growth begins in silence, in those moments when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, and you choose to believe anyway. That is the seed of destiny. If you look closer, trust does not eliminate fear, but it outweighs it. India, like every dreamer, has faced uncertainty. There were economic crises, wars, internal divisions, global skepticism, but the reason it always rises is because trust has been stronger than fear. Trust is what allows you to take the next step, even when you cannot see the whole staircase. It gives you the courage to act in the dark, knowing that your belief will eventually bring light. This is not just about a country, this is about you. The reason you hesitate, the reason you procrastinate, the reason you shrink from opportunities is because you allow doubt to dominate trust. The moment you reverse that, the moment trust becomes louder than doubt, you step into growth that feels almost miraculous. Think about it. Every great invention, every discovery, Every revolution began with trust. The Wright brothers trusted that man could fly when the entire world laughed at them. Scientists trusted that electricity could be harnessed when there was no evidence of it. India trusted that it could govern itself when it had been ruled for centuries. Nothing material was there in the beginning, only trust. And that trust magnetized resources, people, opportunities, and miracles. When you cultivate trust in your own journey, the same thing happens. You begin to attract the unseen forces of growth. Trust is also deeply linked with integrity. You cannot grow if your trust is scattered, if you believe today and doubt tomorrow, if you commit halfway and give up when difficulties show up. Nations grow when their trust is steady, when they plant their feet firmly, even when the winds are strong. The same applies to you. If your trust is conditional, your results will be conditional. But if your trust is absolute, if you choose to hold on even when reality gives you every reason to let go, then you step into the territory of miracles. India's story is proof that when trust becomes the foundation, growth becomes inevitable. It is not a matter of if, but when. And when trust is strong enough, even the most powerful resistance cannot stop the progress. History shows us that empires have fallen, powers have faded, but those who trust in their vision continue to rise again and again until their dream becomes destiny. That is the power of trust. It transforms the invisible into the inevitable. Every no that we hear in life carries a hidden opportunity, but most people stop at the sound of rejection and never look deeper. The truth is, every no is a disguised yes, wrapped in a lesson, a delay, or a test. Life does not hand out blessings in plain packaging. It challenges you, it questions you, it pushes you to see how much you truly desire what you claim you want. If every door opened instantly, if every person agreed with you, if every idea was accepted without doubt, growth would never happen, resilience would never be built, and destiny would never be shaped. It is the no that stretches us, it is the no that sharpens us, and it is the no that forces us to discover the hidden power within. India's journey itself is a testimony to this principle. For centuries the nation heard no, from the powers that ruled it, no, from those who believed it could never stand on its own, no, from global skeptics who doubted its capabilities, yet each no became the spark for a louder demand, for a stronger movement, for a deeper belief that freedom was not only possible, but inevitable. Every time the answer was no, India used that rejection as fuel to push harder, to organize better, to believe more fiercely. That same spirit is what every individual must embrace, because your personal journey mirrors the journey of nations. The no is not your enemy, it is your silent partner in growth. When someone tells you no, they are not closing your destiny. They are simply reminding you that your commitment needs to be tested. Success is never built on convenience, it is built on persistence. The athletes who break records are not the ones who heard yes every time, they are the ones who faced constant no's. No to their bodies when pain screamed louder than willpower. No from coaches who said they weren't ready. No from circumstances that seemed impossible. But somewhere deep within, they converted every rejection into a quiet agreement with themselves. Yes, I will go further. That internal yes is the only one that truly matters. The key to understanding rejection is to realize that a no is rarely final. It is often temporary, conditional, or simply a reflection of someone else's perspective. When you hear no, it does not mean the vision is impossible. It means you have not yet aligned the conditions for it to manifest. A seed placed in dry soil will not grow, but that does not mean the seed is lifeless. It simply means the environment is not ready. Likewise, your dreams are alive, but the world may not be ready to see them in full bloom. A no is nothing more than a delay, a pause, a push for you to strengthen yourself until the right conditions are in place. Think of every innovator, every leader, every creator who has changed history. Their lives were filled with no's. Inventors were mocked, entrepreneurs were laughed at, visionaries were dismissed. Yet, if you look at the results, it is not the rejection that defined them, but their refusal to accept no as the final answer. They understood that behind every no lies the opportunity to refine, to adjust, to persist. The person who gives up at the first no will never see the hidden yes. But the one who keeps going, who chooses to see rejection as redirection, will eventually reach the point where the world can no longer deny them. Even in personal life, the same truth applies. Relationships, careers, opportunities, dreams each carries its own set of rejections. Someone may say no to your worth, but that does not decrease your value. An employer may say no to your potential, but that does not define your ability. The universe may say no today, but that no is often a sign that it is preparing you for a bigger yes tomorrow. When you change your relationship with rejection, you stop fearing it and start using it. You begin to see each no as a step closer, not further away. Every no is also a mirror showing you where you need to grow. If you hear no in business, it may be a sign that your strategy needs sharpening. If you hear no in your personal journey, it may be a call to build more patience, more discipline, more inner strength. The no is not against you, it is for you. It shapes you into the person capable of holding the success you desire. Imagine if everything you asked for came instantly. You would not appreciate it, you would not have the strength to sustain it, you would not have the wisdom to handle it. The no prepares you, molds you, and transforms you so that when the yes arrives, you are ready to carry it without breaking. India trusted in this principle when every obstacle stood in its way. The rejection from those who doubted it only made its spirit stronger. The no's became stepping stones, and each one brought it closer to destiny. In your own life, you must choose to see no as a hidden agreement, a disguised affirmation, a coded way of saying, "You are not done yet, keep going." Because the truth is, every no carries the seed of a yes, and only those who persist long enough will unlock it. Destiny is not something that falls from the sky or is handed to you by chance. It is carved by the choices you make, step by step, day by day. Many people sit back and wait for life to change. They wait for luck. They wait for opportunities to knock. They wait for circumstances to shift. But life does not bend for the passive. It bends for those who decide. The moment you recognize that destiny is a choice, not a chance, you reclaim the steering wheel of your life. Nations that rose from ashes, leaders who changed history, individuals who transformed from nothing into greatness, none of them waited for chance. They made deliberate choices that aligned with their vision, even when those choices were uncomfortable, unpopular, or uncertain. India itself is the living embodiment of this truth. For centuries, the destiny of this land was dictated by others, rulers, colonizers, foreign powers decided the fate of its people. But the day India chose to decide for itself, the day it declared independence not just on paper but in spirit, its destiny shifted. That shift did not happen because chance smiled on it, but because its people chose to act with courage, unity, and determination. The same is true for every person. Your past may have been shaped by circumstances beyond your control, but your future will always be shaped by the choices you make today. Think about it. Every decision you make, no matter how small, is a vote for the kind of destiny you are creating. When you decide to wake up early and work on your vision instead of sleeping in, you cast a vote for growth. When you choose to invest time in learning instead of wasting hours in distractions, you cast a vote for transformation. When you choose to forgive instead of holding grudges, you cast a vote for freedom. It is never the big moments alone that shape destiny. It is the accumulation of small decisions made consistently, deliberately, and with faith in the bigger picture. The illusion that keeps many trapped is the belief that destiny is fixed. They think this is just the way life is, or it is written already, and so they surrender to mediocrity. But if that were true, how could countless men and women rise from poverty to wealth, from obscurity to influence, from weakness to strength? How could nations evolve, industries transform, revolutions ignite? The truth is, destiny is fluid. It shifts with every choice you make. And those who recognize this truth step out of the role of victims and into the role of creators. Making a choice does not mean you will not face obstacles. It means you commit to walking the path despite the obstacles. India chose independence, and that choice invited years of struggle, sacrifice, and resistance. But that struggle was not punishment. It was the process of birthing a new destiny. In your own life, when you choose to step out of your comfort zone, you will meet resistance too. People will doubt you, failures will challenge you, fear will whisper to you, but if you keep choosing the path of growth, eventually the resistance will give way to results. There is a simple truth. Indecision is itself a choice, and it is the choice that kills destiny. When you sit on the fence, when you wait for certainty, when you refuse to commit, you are in fact choosing stagnation. Every successful person understands that decisions shape destiny, not chances. They decide quickly, they adjust as they go, and they trust that their choice will lead them where they need to be. Those who hesitate, who wait for the perfect conditions, who delay until tomorrow, end up living a life designed by someone else's choices instead of their own. Destiny is also a reflection of priorities. Whatever you give your energy to, that is what grows in your life. If you give energy to fear, fear grows. If you give energy to excuses, excuses multiply. If you give energy to vision, persistence, and faith, those become the pillars of your destiny. The choice is always yours, whether you realize it or not. And the most empowering realization you can have is that every moment presents a fresh chance to choose again. You may have made poor choices yesterday, you may have chosen doubt or procrastination in the past, but the moment you decide differently, the moment you align with a higher vision, your destiny begins to change course. Look at the inventors, the dreamers, the visionaries. They did not wait for chance. They made bold choices, choices that others called foolish, risky, or impossible. Yet, those choices opened doors that chance alone could never create. The greatest risk in life is not choosing boldly, but choosing to do nothing. Chance may bring you an opportunity once in a while, but if you have not built the habit of making decisions, you will not even recognize it when it comes. Destiny favors the decisive, not the hesitant. India's progress after independence has been shaped by choices to invest in education, choices to trust in technology, choices to believe in its youth, choices to embrace globalization while preserving identity. Every milestone has been born out of deliberate decisions. Similarly, every milestone in your life will be born out of the decisions you make when it is easier not to decide, when it is safer to stay where you are, when it is more comfortable to leave destiny to chance. But those who step into choice step into power, because chance is random, but choice is intentional, and intentional living is the birthplace of true destiny. Negative feelings are something every person experiences, no matter how strong, successful, or enlightened they may appear. Fear, doubt, worry, anger, guilt, jealousy, these emotions creep into the human heart like shadows. Most people believe that negative feelings are enemies that must be destroyed, avoided, or suppressed. But the truth is, they are not enemies at all. They are simply energy in disguise. Energy never disappears, it only transforms, and when you learn how to redirect these feelings, they become some of the greatest sources of power in your journey. The same force that drags one person into despair can lift another into greatness, depending on how it is channeled. India's long history shows this vividly. Generations of people felt anger and frustration at oppression, exploitation, and inequality. That anger could have destroyed them, but instead, when directed into unity and purposeful action, it became the fire that ignited independence. Fear of remaining enslaved turned into courage to stand up. Sadness over injustice transformed into strength to endure sacrifices. Negative feelings did not vanish. They were transformed into energy that fueled progress. Likewise, in personal life, the feelings that seem to weaken you are often raw power waiting to be harnessed. Fear, for example, is one of the most powerful energies a person can experience. Left unchecked, it paralyzes, it traps you in hesitation, it robs you of opportunities. But when fear is acknowledged and redirected, it becomes focus, alertness, and readiness. The same energy that makes your heart race in fear is the energy that makes your heart race in excitement when you face a challenge head on. The body does not distinguish between fear and excitement. It is the mind that gives the label. By choosing to interpret fear as a sign of growth, you transform it into fuel instead of a barrier. Doubt is another negative feeling that many see as a weakness, but doubt can also be a powerful teacher. Doubt forces you to question, to analyze, to test, and in that process it often refines your vision. Without doubt, there would be blind faith with no innovation. It is doubt that makes scientists ask deeper questions, entrepreneurs refine their strategies, and thinkers search for better solutions. The problem is not doubt itself, but remaining stuck in doubt without moving forward. When doubt pushes you to prepare better, to work harder, to prove yourself, it transforms into determination. Anger, too, is a misunderstood feeling. Most people fear anger because when uncontrolled, it can destroy relationships, opportunities, and peace of mind. But anger is also a form of passion. It arises when something deeply important to you is threatened. If you allow anger to explode aimlessly, it becomes destructive. But if you direct anger into purposeful channels, it becomes the fuel to fight injustice, the drive to break limitations, the energy to create change. Many revolutions, inventions, and breakthroughs in history were born out of anger at how things were. combined with a vision of how they could be better. The key is to shift anger from blind reaction to conscious action. Worry and anxiety consume millions of people every day. They drain energy, scatter focus, and create endless cycles of what-ifs. But worry, at its core, is imagination. It is the mind creating vivid pictures of what could go wrong. That same imagination, when flipped, can create visions of what could go right. The energy of worry can be transformed into the energy of planning, preparing, and visualizing success. Instead of worrying about failure, you can use that same mental capacity to envision victory, and your actions will align with those positive images. Jealousy is often condemned as a toxic emotion, but beneath jealousy is admiration twisted by insecurity. When you feel jealous of someone, it is usually because they possess something you secretly desire. That recognition is not negative, it is a compass pointing toward your own unfulfilled potential. If you let jealousy consume you, it leads to resentment. But if you let it inspire you, it becomes motivation to improve yourself, to aim higher, and to achieve what you once thought was unreachable. Jealousy can become a mirror, showing you what you truly want, if you are willing to face it honestly. Even guilt and regret, which weigh heavily on the soul, contain hidden energy. Guilt shows that you have values, that you know you have acted below your standards. Regret shows that there is something in your past you wish you had done differently. When you allow guilt and regret to crush you, they keep you stuck in the past. But when you use them as lessons, they become powerful motivators to change your behavior, to make better choices, to live with greater integrity. The pain of regret can push you to create a future so fulfilling that it outshines any mistake of the past. Energy is neutral until it is directed. Electricity can power a city or electrocute a person. Fire can warm a home or burn it down. Water can quench thirst or flood fields. The difference lies in how the energy is contained and channeled. Negative feelings are no different. They are raw energy, and when mastered, they become the driving force of transformation. The challenge is not to eliminate them, but to rise above them, to use them consciously. The most successful people are not those who never feel negative emotions. They are those who feel them deeply, but do not allow themselves to be ruled by them. They transform fear into courage, anger into strength, jealousy into ambition, doubt into clarity, worry into preparation. They take the very feelings that hold others back and turn them into rocket fuel. India, too, in its collective story, has taken centuries of pain, struggle, division, and turned them into resilience, unity, and progress. Negative energy has always existed, but in the hands of those who know how to transform it, it becomes the most powerful force of growth. The greatest discovery you can ever make is that the first and most important person you must trust is yourself. Nations rise when they trust their people. Businesses grow when leaders trust their vision, and individuals succeed when they trust their own inner compass. Without self-trust, every other form of trust becomes shaky. You may trust systems, leaders, friends, or opportunities, but if you cannot look within and believe in your own ability, everything else collapses under pressure. The root of all achievement, whether personal or collective, is the conviction that you are capable, worthy, and equipped to bring your vision to life. India's story demonstrates this principle on a grand scale. For centuries, outsiders dictated its path. The people were told what they could or could not achieve. and often the voices of doubt came from the very systems designed to control them. But independence was born the moment Indians decided to trust themselves. They trusted that they could govern without foreign rule, that they could build their own economy, that they could preserve their culture while embracing progress. That inner trust was not given from outside, it was claimed from within. Every person has that same battle. The world will always have opinions, critics, and doubters, but destiny shifts only when you decide to listen to your own inner voice above all others. Self-trust is not arrogance, and it is not blind optimism. It is the quiet confidence that no matter what comes, you will find a way. It is the faith that even if you do not know every step, you can take the first step and figure out the rest along the way. Too many people wait until they feel completely prepared, until they have every guarantee, until they are sure of every outcome before they move forward. That is not trust. That is hesitation disguised as logic. Trust means acting even when uncertainty surrounds you, because you know that your ability to adapt is greater than any obstacle in front of you. When you lack self-trust, every rejection cuts deeper, every failure feels final, every delay seems unbearable. You start to depend on others for validation, for permission, for approval. And when that approval does not come, you shrink back into doubt. But when you cultivate unshakable trust in yourself, rejection becomes redirection, failure becomes feedback, and delay becomes preparation. Instead of asking, will they believe in me, you begin to ask, do I believe in me? That shift is the foundation of resilience. History is filled with individuals who carried within them a deep sense of self-trust long before the world acknowledged their greatness. They were ridiculed, ignored, doubted, yet they pressed forward because they trusted their vision more than the voices around them. That trust magnetized the right people, the right resources, the right timing. The same pattern repeats in every era because self-trust is timeless. It does not depend on culture, geography, or circumstance. It is a universal law of success. Trusting yourself also means trusting your decisions. Many people live in endless cycles of second guessing, doubting every move, hesitating to commit. But indecision is the thief of destiny. When you trust yourself, you give yourself permission to decide, to act, to move forward even if you make mistakes. And those mistakes, instead of breaking you, become stepping stones because you trust your ability to learn and adapt. Nations grow the same way. They make policies, they experiment, they adjust, they learn. Individuals must do the same. Another powerful aspect of self-trust is that it strengthens the trust others place in you. People can sense whether you truly believe in yourself. When you walk into a room with certainty, when you speak with conviction, when you act with clarity, others are drawn to that energy. They may not fully understand your vision, but they feel your trust in it, and that compels them to support you. The opposite is also true. If you doubt yourself, if your energy wavers, if you constantly seek approval, others hesitate to follow you. Trust begins internally and radiates outward, shaping how the world responds to you. There will always be times when everything outside seems to collapse. Plans fail, opportunities vanish, support disappears. In those moments, the only anchor that keeps you from sinking is self-trust. It reminds you that you have survived before, that you have overcome before, that you have resources within you that may not yet be visible but will emerge when needed. It is like a hidden reservoir of strength that only reveals itself when you lean on it. Without that inner trust, you give up too soon. With it, you endure until the breakthrough comes. India's progress after independence offers countless lessons in self-trust. Despite poverty, despite skepticism from the global community, despite the complexity of uniting diverse cultures, it chose to trust itself. That choice led to building one of the world's largest democracies, sending missions to space, nurturing industries that serve the globe, and raising leaders in every field imaginable. That same principle applies to your life. The day you decide to trust yourself fully, you ignite a chain reaction that leads to growth beyond imagination. Self-trust also liberates you from the grip of negative feelings. Doubt, fear, worry, these emotions lose their power when you know deep inside that no matter what, you can handle it. You stop waiting for guarantees. You stop begging for approval. You stop fearing rejection. Instead, you walk into challenges with calmness, knowing that your trust is not in circumstances, but in your own ability to adapt, grow, and rise. That is the foundation upon which every dream must be built, because without it, no dream can stand.